Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy Podcast. I'm excited today to talk to someone who is not a gymnast, but she is an expert. Actually, maybe you are, but I'm pretty sure you're not. But she is an expert on bravery. And that is something that I think every athlete in what I call a scary sport can learn from. Also, any human who ever has to take a risk or do something outside of their comfort zone is going to get a lot out of this episode today. So, Jill Shulman, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And I think I've done a couple cartwheels when I was young. So does that count? Of course.
Y We're gonna say yes. Well, everyone's a
There
gymnast
you
at heart
go.
as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. Yes. Well, will you tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to
sure.
want to research bravery specifically?
Thank you. Yeah, well, I did start off my career as a United States Marine. So maybe that has something to do with my interest in bravery. After college, I served as a Marine Corps officer, and then I went into corporate America, spent many years in specifically the medical field, biotech, industry, pharmaceutical industry, and I end up falling in love with science. Like I love science and evidence and was in the commercial side of the business and I did really well and moved up. I ended up learning a lot more for my own development about how to be a more effective leader, how to get the best performance out of my people. Very curious there. I ended up being so interested in how to maximize the performance of the people that I lead or to help others that I ended up forming my own company, Breakthrough Leadership Group. And my company just celebrated 10 years, yay, being
Yay.
on my own, but I feel like I'm always learning and growing. So I decided to go back to school and I was studying uh, positive psychology. The name of your podcast is Perform Happy, right? So I literally went back to school to figure out how do people perform happy,
Yes.
because positive psychology is the study of happiness and well-being, and I wanted to take it back to work performance. So as I went through my studies and learned about the science of happiness and well-being and how it intersected with work, that's when I discovered the science of bravery and how do you help people um, succeed and perform at their best with the presence of fear. How do they get through that? So that's kind of my journey and how I landed where I am now.
Amazing. Positive psychology is my favorite. There are so many amazing things about positive psychology that I think can make people, just like you said, perform and be happy. Because I think there's so many things out there that are like, you can be happy, just quit because it's hard, or you can perform well, but you're gonna have to suffer. And I really look for that intersection.
Ah,
And I
mm,
appreciate anyone else who does the same. So and I have little kids, so I'm always like, "All right, you are crying and saying you don't wanna go and try skiing, and I
mm,
see the benefit of you taking this leap of faith. So
mm.
what do I do here? Do I back off and say, "It's okay, honey, let's go get hot cocoa," or do I, like, run away and hope that she sticks it out? And, so I have so many
Okay.
questions to ask you,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
but can we start with, like, your definition of bravery and how it differs from sort of the traditional concepts of confidence and fearlessness?
Yeah. So bravery is defined as not being fearless or eliminating fear. It's actually stepping forward and taking action in the presence of fear, like your ability to take courageous action in the presence of fear. So yeah, a lot of people think bravery is something that you're born with or you're not, or like people who are brave, are fearless. No, actually, bravery is a skill of knowing how to move forward towards something that really matters to you, that aligns with your values in the presence of fear.
And
Mm,
that is such an important point that it aligns with your values, and that's why you're willing to get out of your comfort zone.
exactly. Mm,
And so that values piece is really important because I know a lot of, our very high achieving adolescents that I help, their values often are making others happy
mm,
or doing the thing that they have done for so long so they just can't quit.
mm.
I'm curious how you get people to that first point of finding their values so that they then can take these courageous leaps from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we first have to start off by looking within and figuring out what do we want. And it starts with finding something that's intrinsically motivating. So just because a parent wants you to be a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that you should be a doctor. So if you're going down the path to be a doctor because your mom wants you to, or your dad wants you to, and they're going to be disappointed, we're going to have a hard time getting through all the challenges through medical school, right? So I think the first thing, and this is me being very philosophical here, like, I think as humans, we need to figure out how are we going to bring the most value into the world? And we've got to look within us and figure out what do we really want for myself? And I think for a lot of young adolescents, and I have my daughter's a little bit older, I've got a 17 and a 19-year-old, but what do they really want? What are they interested in? What do they want to study? What do they want to be when they grow up? What do they want to accomplish from a sports perspective? And once they decide they want to do it, then you can get them uncomfortable, right? And you even said this, you hit kind of a nerve when you said like, okay, like I want my kid to do this thing and they don't want to do it. What is the right thing to do? Do I push them into the discomfort because that's the right thing to do, or do I keep them comfortable? And I mean, in my book is, I'm writing a book right now on the science of bravery, and it's a parable. So it's a story. So, like, anyone from literally age like probably 13 to 99 can read because it's just a story. But in there, we talk about the comfort trap and how bravery is needed to escape it. And for all the parents out there, because let me just tell you what I screwed up as a parent. So please don't do this, is I think sometimes out of our desire to make our kids happy, we took away obstacles because we wanted to make them happy, which is comfortable, but that actually makes them less happy over time. So the comfort trap is when you allow people to stay in the bubble of comfort, right? They become less able to be able to handle challenges in the future, which makes it worse. So as parents, we've got to, and I'm not a parenting expert. I do have my master's in positive psychology, but my expertise is applying it toward adults. But I can tell you everything I know about how to coach adults to perform at their best. But, in general, we've got to not go straight to trying to help people too much to make things too easy, because that is actually not the path to the highest level of happiness and well-being. And I can say that with scientific certainty.
Yes, and I can say from the shoes of a parent of a tween and a 6-year-old and someone who does help the parents with this, it is hard for me to even walk that balance. And I'll give my little skiing example. My 6-year-old is like, "Yeah, I want to go skiing. Let's go, let's go." And we get her all strapped in, we get her in her gear, and we go, "Okay, here's your lesson." And she looks at me like, "Huh?" I'm like, "No, we talked about this. You're going to go have your lesson and you're going to learn." And she's like, "No, I just want to be with you." And this is her story, this is her life strategy. She just wants to be with me. She is a comfort zone lover, this little one. She would sit on
Mhm.
my lap all day and have me feed every morsel of food to her and have me sit next to her in her class and play with her in her at her recess if she could.
Mhm.
And I am like, "Okay, buddy, we're going to find the middle. I will stay with you for a little while." And we do a lot of sort of easing in, like she didn't want to go to a birthday party. So I'm like, "Well, we're just going to sit there and watch it then. Maybe we'll just take our shoes off. Maybe we'll inch a little closer." And then eventually she's like, "Okay, I'll do a little bit." And so that's where I'm always sort of like, we're not going to just drop the present off and go. We're not just going to not do the lesson. I'm going to stand here and kind of watch you, and then we're going to get you
Mhm.
there.
What I love that you're doing, Rebecca, is that you're finding like little incremental steps, which is supported by the scientific literature. Like if someone wants to become a great public speaker and they are completely fearful of public speaking, you don't want to take them and put them on the stage in front of 5,000 people, because that is too much of a leap. So it's incremental. When you think of discomfort, this comes from Dr. Yerkes Dodson, who did research on the basically the relationship between the amount of challenge or stress and performance. And so what they found is, and you probably know this research, which is if the level of challenge, or even they called it stress back when they first published this. But people get stressed by the word stress. Stress is not a bad word. Stress is actually something that makes us stronger. So, but when the level of challenge is too low, then we don't get better. And then we fall in that comfort trap and people get bored and complacent. And that actually leads to actually depression and all kinds of things. So, like keeping our kids unchallenged and not pushing them is bad for them, for their performance, for their future, for their mental health. So we don't want that. But if you go to the opposite end of the spectrum, so think of like, it's like that bell-shaped curve, right? On the bottom is level of challenge, and then on the left is a level of performance, but also like happiness and well-being. So too little is not good, but too much, too big of a stretch, to take a child that's never left your side and just dropping them off for a week of camp, like might be a little too much, so too soon. So you want to be in that middle zone, right? And different kids are different ways. Like some kids come out of the womb just saying like, I can do it myself, right? So to challenge them, you can give them more. So just getting in that middle zone, so think of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, like too little is not too good, too much, like you don't want too little, you don't want too much, you want to be just right. But then when you keep nudging them out of their comfort zone, they'll be ready for more. They'll be ready for more. So it's like it's the wave in the research, but then think of I live in Southern California, you kind of ride the wave and then it can increase over time.
Yes, and that lines up with flow theory as well, where when you get that right challenge skill balance,
Hmm.
that's you're always reaching for a challenge that's just outside your comfort
Yes.
zone, that's in your stretch zone.
Hmm.
That's when you're gonna really click in. Your focus narrows in because you are challenged, but your motivation is there because there's a possibility you could actually pull this thing off. I mean,
Mm.
again, with my little one, we get out ice skating. I'm like, can you go all the way to that line without holding my hand? And she's like, okay. And she goes for it. Whereas if I said, go do a lap without me, she'd be like, I quit. It is so
Exactly.
important for people of any age. If you want to get your intrinsic motivation into place and you want to get yourself inspired, find a challenge that's just a little harder than what you think you could
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. And you just are speaking my love language. You just mentioned flow, Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi, one of the founding fathers of positive psychology. Like, I know I would love you and be on this
I know, I
podcast.
know. This is why we're here. We're here talking about yes, I'm like science and bravery. These are my favorite topics. Yeah.
Oh, love
But
it.
so, okay, now you talk a little bit about well-being and mental health and how that is actually like that bravery factor is part of the puzzle
Mhm.
because I know parents, we want our kids to be happy and healthy and
Mhm.
successful.
Mhm.
So can you give
Yeah.
some guidelines of
Yeah.
how to embrace bravery and model it as
Mm.
parents, as leaders, as coaches, so that we can, like push in that right way that
Yeah.
doesn't send them off the cliff of
Yes.
meltdown?
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so many things I want to tell you. So, yes, yes, yes. Now, if we talk about bravery and well-being or mental health, let me start there and let me just kind of define like what is positive psychology. Positive psychology is the study of how to help people elevate their happiness and well-being. And I have to cite Dr. Marty Seligman, who's kind of known as one of the founding fathers or the founding father, him and Csikszentmihalyi. But they kind of think of mental health as the spectrum from like -10 to +10. So anything negative of 0 is considered like not mentally well. So this is when kids are depressed or anxious or, any of these things. So, and our whole field of psychology is to help people who are unwell and make them at least at 0. But really, is that what we want in life? Do we want just people to feel like not depressed? So, positive psychology is a study of taking anyone who's at baseline 0 or +1, +2, +5, and how do you get them as high as possible? How do you get people to live their best life? So, my area of expertise is on the right hand of the scale, right? But what I do know is based on the research by many different positive psychologists, if you can start teaching kids positive psychology, all the things that are part of positive psychology, and there's a lot of them, and I'll cover a couple of them. Then, when you move people to the right, it makes them more resilient to not fall victim to mental health. For one example, like Dr. Marty Seligman and his team of researchers, they actually went down to a school in Australia. I can't remember the name of the school is, and the school decided to start teaching positive psychology. Like, let's teach them math, let's teach them science and reading, but let's also teach them how to maximize their happiness and well being. So, when they started teaching kids how to do it, the amount of kids that fell below 0 that were diagnosed with depression or anxiety significantly decreased. So it's kind of like instead of fire fighting, it's kind of fire prevention. So that's just kind of positive psychology, just in general. And really, what can we do as parents and as leaders? Like, I mean, what I would just encourage everyone to do is we need to learn these things. These are life skills, and we can't count on schools to teach your kids on how to get out of their comfort zone, how to be resilient, how to generate happy emotions, how to build effective relationships. And you guys, that is so important for the development overall, and that will make them successful in life. So we got to do that. Or a lot of times people cite their coaches back to sports. My coach taught me all these great skills that made me successful. So the school's not going to do it. You got to do it. So read, educate yourself, find ways to teach your kids these skills. And what I can teach is a little bit on just a little sliver. My little expertise is on bravery and really, like, please do not think that your kids are too fragile. Jonathan Haidt. Everyone's probably heard of Jonathan Haidt. He just wrote a book called The Anxious Generation. He's been on every show, Today's Show, everything. And he basically says the reason why our kids are anxious and have all these mental health problems is because as parents, we are we are protecting them too much and they're not ready for it. So I just your listeners are gonna have so many books that are on their like list to read, but the Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, so much great advice for parents. Um, so I recommend that. But in terms of challenge, too little protecting your kids too much is not preparing them for life. They're going to fall in that comfort trap and they're not going to be resilient, and that's not good. But we also need to provide those steps, as you were saying with your daughter, right? So I like using the analogy for younger people is rungs to a ladder, right? So, that analogy is used by so many different people, right? What is the top of the ladder look like? What do you really want to accomplish? And now we need to come up with all those little steps to get you there. And every time you get up one more rung of the ladder, you have a party. You celebrate progress. Because one thing to help our young people, and this is anyone. This is the same stuff I teach to 45-year-old leaders in big companies. What are the rungs on the ladder? And sometimes when we're looking at the gap between where we are and the top of the ladder, that actually makes us sad, right? So instead of looking at the gap between where we are and where we want to go, we've got to look at the gain, look at how far we've come. I've never been on my skates before. I've never let go of your hand. And I literally went from mom to dad, which was 5. Let's celebrate the progress. So doing a lot of celebrating of progress supports the growth mindset. So it's just one little hint, little out of your comfort zone, little out of your comfort zone. And then let them know too. Let your kids know that if you are waiting until you're ready, it's never going to happen.
Mm.
The key to happiness and success in life is just taking action, even when there's a little bit of fear, and it's going to be okay.
Yep. Yep. And those calculated risks where yes, there's a leap of faith between this rung and the next, but I'm setting myself up for success because it's a little leap. I'm
Mm,
not trying to jump so far that I really could get hurt or could really have it's these little leaps. And then I think something also for my audience specifically, it's a lot of kids who have had a ton of confidence and then have had a backslide of confidence. They have a growth
mm,
spurt. They have, a coach that just doesn't coach them in a positive way and their confidence sinks. And all of a sudden they're more scared than they used to be on the same
mm,
skill they've
mm,
done
mm,
before. And so if that's you out there, that same ladder will work. And I think it's a
mm,
lot harder to congratulate yourself for a rung climb when you're like, but I've been at the top and now I'm down here. And I think that's the biggest trap that keeps kids unhappy through that process. Yeah, you might get there and get your skill back, but you're going to be miserable the entire time unless you can learn to go, oh my gosh, I'm getting better today. From
mm,
where I started today to where I ended today, I am improving. But to
mhm.
to keep that perspective is so much more important than, like you said, like that the gain versus the gap. If you're always
Yeah.
looking at that gap, which I know myself as a recovering perfectionist, like I live in the gap of like, but I have these
Mhm,
big goals, I have these big expectations, I have to get all this stuff done. I'm so overwhelmed, I'm so busy versus, well, hold on one second. Can I pause and look at everything I've actually already accomplished even before 8 a.m.? That's
yeah,
such a healthier way to look at how you're spending all of your hours and all of your,
yeah.
you
And
know, brain
and what you're
power.
saying there is praise effort, not always the result. So this is one of the things that we can do as parents, or I can do as I talk to mainly leaders and organizations, is praise the progress, but also make sure that we're praising the effort to go into improving, not just if we wait to praise until people have achieved the end result, then we're not doing the right thing. This is what supports growth mindset. You and I were talking before the podcast that we follow Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset, and we want our child to develop a growth mindset. And there's things that we can do as coaches, as parents, as teachers that can create that growth mindset. So we've got to be doing all the right things, which is praising like the effort. And when people backslide, two things that came to mind. Number one is when you experience failure, teaching anyone in the world how to learn from failure is such an amazing skill. If no one ever fails, they're not pushing the limits and trying hard enough. So when someone does experience some failure, just say, this is a normal part of growth. And I want to just congratulate on this failure because you are trying something more complex and you're pushing yourself. And the fact that you are experience some of these failures just means that you're challenging yourself and we're going to learn from it. And so what can we learn? So how we respond to challenges, or sorry, how we respond to failures as leaders, when I talk to leaders in like Fortune 100 companies, matters in terms of how psychologically safe our employees or for kids feel. Right. So we've got to take ownership. Like, are we creating the environment to create a growth mindset? All right. It's a mistake. Shake it off. What did you learn from it? Move on. Or is your reaction making them ruminate and not get beyond it? So we want to help anyone. Like when there's a little failure, what can we learn from this? Failures are teachers to help make us better. And then the last thing I want to bring up, and then I know I'm kind of going off in a lot of different directions, but this is like, I love visuals. Like, so we had the ladder as a visual. Like some people think like, oh, if I want to accomplish a new goal, like success is just linear, right? Like I'm going to start on day one and I'm just going to work hard and I'm just going to keep going up and up and it's going to be perfect until I get to my success. So this is where my ladder analogy fails because a ladder is straight. The reality, when you look at developmental psychology, is that the road to success is not a straight line. It is ups and downs, ups and downs, up and down and around until you finally get there. And how you respond to when you take the dips or the turnarounds, that is really the most accurate predictor of how successful you'll be. Everyone experiences the ups and downs. How do you deal with the downturns and the failure? If you respond to that in a what can I learn in a positive way, you will be more successful than people that just get down in the dumps. I didn't do it perfect. I suck. Like don't even want to try again. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Yes. Well, and that's so I mean, that's so important. It's how do you respond? And so we've got kids we work with who they were winning, 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 and then they sort of have this like Adam and Eve moment. They realize they're mortal, they have a fall, they see something, they just get older, their brain kicks in, and then all of a sudden skills that were easy feel hard.
Mm,
And that's, a highly intelligent, sensitive person is going to have more awareness of risks. That's
yeah.
something I see in my work. And that's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
It just is. And so when you've grown up into this big old adolescent fear response, you start to go, "Oh no, this is dangerous." And so we see these kids, they make success and then they have a setback, success, setback. And I'm like, ooh, a setback. Yes, yes, yes. There are so many clues in what just happened. I also say I love a good day and a bad day back to back, because then you can go, awesome. What set you up for success on the good day? What didn't set you up for success
Mhm.
on the bad day? What did you do differently? Because it's just a series of experiments. You go
Mm.
into the gym, you see what happens, and you go, okay, that was good. What did we eat? How did we sleep? How did I talk to myself? Who was coaching me? How tired was I? I mean, all of those things, if you just start to pay attention, then those setbacks and dips are your best teachers.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
don't want these kids to not have setbacks. I want those setbacks to be that quick lesson and back you go. And eventually they get to the point where they can feel their confidence slipping before they even miss a skill because they're so
Mhm.
in tune. And then instead of going, oh no, what's wrong with me? They go, let's check around and find some clues. What do I need? What rung of the ladder can I reach for right now? How do I
Mhm.
congratulate myself for progress, even though it's not what I was doing yesterday? And those are the kids that come out
Mhm.
resilient. And it's like that ninth backslide where they finally start to get that pattern. And it takes that whole
Yeah.
process to really understand themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Such powerful stuff. You're making me think of there's like the outer game and the inner game. So Tim Galloway, who wrote this book called The Inner Game, he was this famous tennis coach. So in corporate America, like a lot of people cite the work of Tim Galloway because it's really a foundation of how we teach leaders how to bring out the best performance, and it totally relates here. So Tim Galloway, realized as he was coaching tennis that there was two things that really could help his athletes perform better. So I want to share this with you and tell me, how does this jive with what you find in gymnasts and skaters and all the other athletes that you help? So what he found is, he goes, there's sometimes the outer game, which is, oh, well, they need to put more spin on their serve. They need to know when to run up to the net. So there's technical skills, and they need to learn like what to do and how to do it. He calls that the outer game. And sometimes we need to do drills and teach them on the outer game to elevate. He goes, but usually the biggest thing that holds people back is not the outer game. He goes, it's the inner game, which the principal obstacles that prevent people from performing their best is anxiety and self-doubt. And how do you increase that? Right. And you guys, this is the exact same thing I teach leaders, CEOs, senior leaders, middle level leaders in corporations all over the world. It's these same skills. Like, how do leaders? So let me tell you what I tell leaders to do. I present some of the research where um, the belief of the leader in the potential of the employee is one of the best predictors of if the employee will believe in their abilities. And when I go around and teach these skills to audiences, I always ask the question, who was your best leader that made the biggest impact on your career, your growth, you as a person? And I have them think of that person. I'm like, what was it about them that really made the difference? And this comes out every single time. So my study would be like every single time it comes out, usually it's, my leader believed in my potential. And when I didn't, and when my leader believed in it and said, I believe in your potential, I know that you can do this thing. Um, when they said it about 10 times, I started going, well, maybe I can. Maybe I can. And then I started thinking it might be possible. So, what we teach leaders out there is like, you've got to genuinely believe in the potential of your people. And when you genuinely believe that, it's going to come out in everything that you say. And your belief can start having them believe in themselves. Right. And so that's what Tim Galloway teaches in his practical advice that we teach in corporate America is, instead of telling someone what to do, oh, change your morning routine and do this and this differently, he leads by asking questions. Right. So just asking like, so what is your goal? What is getting in your way? What have you tried so far? What do you think you should do? Oh, that's a great idea. Look at, you actually do know what to do. So Tim Galloway learned as a coach is, stop telling them what to do, ask them what they should be doing. And then they discover the answer within themselves and are like, I don't need someone to tell me how to get ready to perform at my best. I actually know because I just answered it. Self-confidence raises.
Yes, I mean, that's like half of what I do with clients is just that of like, do you know that you like all is well? Did you know that all is well? Did you know
Yes.
that you're exactly where you should be? And this makes perfect sense. And based on
Mhm.
all of the factors, you're doing incredibly well. Have you given yourself credit for that? And I think coaches, I mean, I get the kid perspective on my coach doesn't believe in me. My coach doesn't
Mm.
like me. My coach, and that it is so hard to give a child positive psychology techniques who is
Mm,
constantly feeling like they are not good enough for their leader, for this
mhm.
person they spend more time with than their parent.
So
And
hard.
some coaches are like, "Well, I only give compliments when it's perfect because then it means something." And
Mhm,
it just, that just sends them right into a fixed mindset. They start to develop performance anxiety. I mean, just
mhm.
knowing that somebody believes in you. I think about my husband. He believes in me more than I do. He like laughs at me when I say I doubt myself. He's like, "Okay, like like it's just ridiculous to him that I wouldn't be incredibly successful at anything I do." And I know that so deeply that he's just like, it's insanity that you don't see how capable you are. And I think, but then it's the important thing is the lack of pressure, because I think a lot of parents are like, she's so smart, she's so much potential. And I also hear on the other side that that can drive that fixed mindset as well, because then, like, I was a smart kid, I was a gate kid, and the first class I didn't understand, I was like, I'm stupid. It must have all been like, maybe
Mm,
it's not true.
imposter syndrome, right.
Yeah, you just
Mhm.
go straight to imposter syndrome if you believe that you just have this like magical goodness that makes you smart, or magical talent that makes you great.
Mm,
So it's so important to be like, I believe in your potential because you work so hard,
yes.
because you are so focused, because you are so creative. Like
Mhm,
those things that were not just like fairy dusted into you when you were born, those things that you work so hard at, you get out of your comfort zone to
mhm.
keep strengthening, that's why you're going to be great. Not
Yeah.
because you're tall, short, big, little, like none of that. And if someone's like this, like my husband, he can do anything because he is the best problem solver on the planet. And I know it and he knows it. And it's like
Mhm,
if I'm pouring that into him, he's not gonna feel like he has to go solve problems, but he's gonna feel like he can. That's
mhm.
the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, as you share that, like, 2 things come to mind, which one is I believe, not I shouldn't say I believe because everything I say that I teach is based on research, and one of the things that's in my book is what I call, like, curating that brave tribe. N so find a tribe of people that are gonna help you achieve your goals, and do not let one bad boss or one coach who doesn't know positive psychology to be able to increase self-belief. You are giving that person way too much power if you are only letting one person influence you. So, you know, I I teach, in organizations, like, if you want to achieve a certain goal in your career or accomplish, a project or something that's really important, you've got your direct leader, and that leader is really going to be an important person that's going to help you with your success. But who else? Like, who else is really great at setting up meetings and collaborating? And what are all the different skills you need to master to be able to accomplish your goal? And think of different people you can go to say, hey, you're really great at this. Can you give me some feedback? Can you help me become great? We just sometimes we put all the power in one person, right? So who is that? I call it a brave tribe. And I do that very, very, very intentionally, because when you have those other people, like multiple people you can go to help you perform at your best, when you go to them, you should be asking them, you have to be brave to say, I need some help. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a little unsure, I'm feeling less confident, right? Or I don't know what to do, or, so it takes some bravery to admit, always being a perfectionist, that I need some help here. And so have the different people that you can, really lean on. Um, and then just in terms of feedback in general, I think we as a society need to get better at leveraging feedback to help us. I think many times we just get if someone doesn't say we do it perfectly, we get down. So there's two sides of this. I spend most of my time with leaders saying you need to deliver the feedback in a way that comes across as, I'm trying to help you be your best. So I spend most of my time talking to leaders about, would you please say it in a way that's constructive, right? So that's what I spend most of my time doing. But I'm also spending a lot of time with individual contributors and teaching them, like, the skill of leveraging feedback the right way, seeing the gift in it. Like, if you've got someone who's let's say a top coach, and they're giving you feedback. The reason they're giving the feedback is because they believe that you can perform better. So try to see the positive in that feedback, right? And then back to the brave tribe. Like we should be, if you're one of the best at something, the very, very best competitors, the very best business leaders out in the world, they are really good at going and asking for feedback. They're going to go to the people who scare them a little bit. This is the bravery comes in like, wow, I feel like I'm like really, really good at, maybe public speaking or like keynote speaking. I go up to people that I look at and go, dude, you are another way bigger, like they are way bigger, more successful, like more skill than I am. And I go up to them and it takes some bravery. Hi, I'm Jill Shulman. And I tell them I admire you and I have some questions and I would love some feedback on how I can get better. So you should be seeking feedback to become your best. And don't be hurt by feedback. It's information that can help you get to where you want to go to. So there's two things here. We need to teach everyone in the world, parents, coaches, leaders, how to deliver feedback in a way where it's going to land better and it's going to be more constructive. So leaders have an obligation and need to do that. But we're getting a little too soft. Anytime, you tell a kid like it's not perfect, they're going to be like, no, no, we got to teach them to be a little bit more resilient and see like what is the data, that the little piece of information that can be helpful. See the little gift and grow from it.
Yeah, I love putting up a filter, especially for, the younger kids and some coaches are not as skilled. Like you said, they don't come from a growth mindset lens. They are coaching the way they were coached. They are not they don't all have masters in communication, or interpersonal relationships. They're doing what they
Yeah.
know how to do. And so they'll say things that as a mom, I'm like, oh my God, if a teacher said that to my kid, they would be fired. But somehow youth
Yes.
sports, it's a different animal. Unfortunately, I hope that will change, but I have kids put up a filter and they get to design it. It can be, it can be a sparkly cloud, it can be a rose gold shield, it can be, whatever you want it
Love
to
that.
be. And then the feedback, like you say, that it comes in and you filter out anything that's not constructive or makes it feel impossible. Like if you don't get your legs straight, you are going to break your neck or whatever. It's like coaches say these things. I'm like, yeah, yeah. So you let in legs straight. Okay, got it. The rest just bounces right off. That you you
Mm,
you start to learn to decode
mm,
what a less skilled communicator is telling you and go, okay, the message that is coming in that will make me better is to straighten my legs. The
mm.
message that is going to make it feel impossible, we're just going to leave that outside the shield because I don't need that. And if you get good at that with, a coach, you can do that with a mean roommate or a bad boss or, all these things. And
Totally. These are universal skills.
yes.
Mm.
And I think it's really cool to hear your perspective on you guys, you parent, these are the same exact skills that
It's the exact same things. I just,
CEOs are learning that your
yes.
11-year-old gets to learn because she lost her back handspring on the beam. Like what a gift. What a
Yeah.
gift.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So if you could give, one more little nugget that sort of like gives us this broader application, like how can these lessons of bravery that kids are learning through sport
Mm.
translate to other areas of life, like academics, relationships, careers? Like what's maybe the most important thing that they could do now that you wish like every 11-year-old got so that they could go be super effective CEOs?
Um, well, I do just love the power of yet. Like it's such a powerful tool that everyone should use. Like actually, most people are aware of it with younger kids, education coaches, right? But in the adult world, people don't know it. So I usually like just teach the power of yet. Because in my research on bravery, there's three keys. Number one is you need to believe that it's possible. And you can simply use the power of yet. I'm not great at a whatever, whatever. Yet. Just using the word yet opens the door of possibility and tells you that hard work and effort, I can get better. So yet is helps you with a brave mindset, believing that it's possible. Um, but then you have to take action. So then the second part is brave action. And this is probably if there's one point is people think that they should take action and start trying when they are ready, when they're comfortable, when the fear goes away. And that is just not the way. That's not what bravery is. You have to take steps forward in the presence of fear. And when you do that, then it actually goes back to the mindset. And then you do it and you're like, wow, I did that. And then it makes you more confident. So it's kind of this feedback loop, right? So, number one, believe that you can using the power of yet. It's possible. Then take action. Just because of my military background, I say run straight at the thing that you're scared of. Just do it. If you're waiting until you're ready, you'll never take action. And then some people are dreamers. I'm a dreamer. I have a vision board. I have all these goals, but they never take action. They're never getting anything. So don't be, oh, you can't stop there. Take those steps forward. And that reinforces that mindset. And the last thing is brave relationships. On the journey of growth and development, you are going to need help and be brave enough to approach the people who are really great at the thing that you want to do, ask for help, ask for advice, and then, of course, do the filter, right? There's some advice that people give you that just doesn't matter because they don't know a lot about it or they don't really know what you're trying to do, right? So just assemble that brave tribe, leverage those great relationships to help you because that rocky road up to where you want to go is going to have its ups and downs, and we all need people and support. So if you can do those three things, believe that you can move forward in the presence of fear and just have that tribe of people that can support you on the journey, you will be unstoppable. And anyone can be brave. It is a learnable, practicable skill.
Amazing. Jill Shulman, what a treat. I love to get out of the gymnastics world just to see that you guys, yeah, the whole point of this is we're Trojan horsing in life skills to these kiddos who can
Yes.
go be amazing and fearless in
Yeah.
life.
Can I let you know just one other thing? Because I work with all these amazing leaders, usually when I ask them who's the best person that's made the biggest impact in their life, sometimes it's a coach or a parent that did all the things that we're talking about. So their experience in with their coaches and what they're going through, this is going to be the same skills that are going to make them successful in the boardroom. So you're setting them up for a brilliant career after the athletic career.
Yes, it's just that little we're just in the tiniest little dot on the line in their gymnastics, and it's, big life full of big things that you're setting them up
Mm.
for. Well, Jill, if we okay, first of all, I want that book on pre-order. So how do people find you? How do we get the book when it comes out?
Well, thank you for asking. So anyone can find me online. I'm all over social media, but my website is jillshulman.com. So Jill and then last name Schulman.com. On my website, there is a bravery assessment. So it's kind of a fun little assessment and it gives you a score on brave mindset, brave action, brave relationships, gives you areas of opportunity. And then you get a free downloadable PDF on tips to build your bravery. So that's something that's just a free resource if anyone would like to build a little bit of their bravery. And then I'm on Instagram, Facebook. If they just type in my first name, last name, or the Science of Bravery, I'm the one that pops up. So please follow me. We can also just put a link in to my upcoming book that will be published a little bit later in the year. May or June is going to be when it's hitting the shelves. And yeah, it's really widely applicable. I wrote it for the for adults in the business world. And as I had a bunch of beta readers read it, I said, who do you think this would help? And everyone said, my teenager. So I think it does help universally.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I will have a copy on my shelf in May or June. I know the book writing process can be
Mm,
never ending, so sending you
thank
smooth
you.
and swift finishing vibes.
I haven't published it yet.
Yet. There you go. But something tells me that you will. Well, thank you again for being here today. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, I had so much fun talking with you. Thanks for having me.